again, Luke, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with us today and discuss just football in general and give some knowledge to some young kids out there and stuff like that. Hope all is well. I know you're in LA, I believe.
I am, yeah. I'm out here in LA, so here the weather's a little nicer here than it has been in Ontario.
Yeah, I bet it. So obviously, quick question: what have you been doing during this obviously this precedented time with COVID-19, and what have you been doing to try and stay at the top of your game and try and stay in top condition?
Oh, to be honest with you, it has been a bit of a struggle. The facility I was at here in LA did close down. Um, so trying to make the best of kind of what I have available. I'm out there's some parks that are still open, and I've got the bandana around the face because that's a law here. You can't be outside in public without a mask on.
You can't be.
No. In fact, the other day I had my bandana just around my neck, and a police officer came over and asked me to wear it. So that was kind of a strange experience. But and then fortunately for me, I've been able to link up with somebody who's got a little home gym and been able to kind of get as much work in there as I can.
That's good. I know here it's not so bad. I mean, my wife has got us wearing a mask and then the crazy stuff too. I mean, I don't go out too much, but she's got us wearing that stuff, and I just it's what it is. I try and just go throughout my business and continue to do what we're doing, and I'm definitely missing football, and I'm missing the kids and stuff like that. But another quick question: you've been a professional athlete now for about 8 years or something like that in the NFL, and I'm going to take you back kind of to your high school slash club days and talk a little bit about film when you sent your stuff away and got to get yourself some opportunities to play at the next level. How important do you feel film was?
I would say that out of all the factors, that was by far the most important. Just like my personal story, and I don't know if you've ever heard me tell it, but it's kind of a funny one. So I had met Rice at a camp. Didn't really think like too much of it. That was my first year playing Ravens. Was a kind of a baseball hockey guy. And then all of a sudden it was like, man, these guys seem really interested, but really wasn't. And they're like, you got any film? And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, like, do I have any film? I'm like, yeah, of course. In my head, I'm like, I no, like I don't have any film. Told my dad, and the first person my dad reached out to was you. And I sent some film that you had put together down to Rice amongst some other schools. But I remember getting a call from their recruiting coach, and one of the things he said was, he's like, hey, we got your film, and we really loved what is the black and teal team you're playing for? And I'm like, oh, that's the Ravens. He's like, yeah, we were actually very pleasantly surprised at the level of competition. So it was, kind of one thing that always stuck out in my head is, especially, you go to a Division I school in Texas, they're looking at some of the best high schools in the entire world, on a consistent basis. And for them to kind of sit there and see the high school film and then also be like, it's tough for them to judge, if you're playing, and it's not a shot. I mean, I love high school ball, but it's like, if you're a recruiting coach and you're looking at high school tape and a kid's dominating, it's like, okay, like this kid looks great, but it's tough for them to evaluate because they don't know, the level of competition that he's going up against. And then all of a sudden they black and teal, as for anyone who doesn't know, they're talking about the Ravens film. He was like, okay, like clearly this is a much higher caliber of football. And I think that was one of the main reasons. I know that they felt very comfortable with offering me a full ride about a week or two later, was because they had seen not only highlights, but entire game film of me playing in the time OVFL. I know it's the OPFL now. Another thing too, I think film-wise, that's important is, and like I just said, kind of getting full games on there. A lot of guys can show flashes, and I'm not trying to take away from highlights because football games are oftentimes won with guys making big plays. But it's like when you get to the next level, college, when you get to the pro level, everybody, but in college, the majority of people can make big plays. In the pros, everyone can. You know, it's not, I mean, some people can make them easier than others, but it's not like, you know, you can put a third, fourth string receiver in or tight end and have him make a one-handed catch. Like there's a reason they got there. So I think that, you know, if I was a college coach, seeing full-blown games kind of gives a little more intel on who the player is on a every down basis.
And that's the big key, right? And I know that's what we're often asked is when we send a full film, because they want to see what you're doing when you don't have the ball.
Yeah.
Right? Are you blocking? Are you running? I remember when we put we did many players highlights and stuff like that. And we did one for Brian Balke, the initial one, and then we sent it away. And they asked us for a full game or a half a game against a passing team. Then they asked us for a half a game against a running team, a primarily running team. And he said, then give us your best full game. And we sent that stuff away. And and he went to Stanford, obviously one of the schools that was heavily recruiting you that you were thinking about going to, and then you end up picking Rice and stuff. And so there was no question. The caliber. I mean, that 2017 that you played for was absolutely ridiculous in regards to.
Yeah, it was.
And Kyle and Derek Easter and Brad Foster-Sato. And I mean, I forget how many guys actually went on to play university football, but that team was frightening. I mean, it was pretty talented. But no, I think that's the biggest misconception nowadays with kids and with parents. They think that, that high school football film is going to be good enough, and they think the competition level is very, very high. And again, I'm not knocking high school football. I coached it for many, many years, but I mean, in regards to the OPFL/OPFL, what it's called now, I think, a top OPFL team would be the best high school team by 40 or 50 points without question.
I mean, they should. I know again, my year that I played Ravens, we won the WEXA and went undefeated in WEXA. And our OVFL team, as much as it pains me to say this because I love my high school, but we would have absolutely smashed our. Now, granted, we had our best players in Villanova on the Ravens.
For sure.
But that, like you said, I always joke about it, but looking back now, it's like you sit there and I just think about that team, and it's like our quarterback was a future Heck Creighton winner.
Yeah.
A two-time Vanier guy, and I mean all the accolades that Kyle Quinlan got. And then you just look at everybody else. I mean, obviously I've got to talk about my two brothers and their career, and I look at Greg and what he was able to do at Western. And then you look at again, I'm going to go with the Villy boys first here, but Corrado was a youngster on that team. Nick Corrado had a great career at Windsor. You mentioned Foster-Sato. Our entire offensive line, I thought, were full studs. And then Derek Easter, obviously. But even a lot of just great local athletes that, played and had great high school and college careers. And we haven't even gotten on the defensive side of that. But it's just funny. I know he didn't play the full year, but I remember that camp, Tyrone Crawford was in camp for a few days.
Yeah.
Sit there and you look at it and it's like, in 2007, we were all high school kids, and you've got Tyrone, who's been in the NFL for 8 years now, or 9, whatever it is. Myself, who's going into 8. Mike Atkinson was on a team who had a great CFL career. You never think what could be. And as far as the OPFL goes, one thing that I try and tell people all the time, and it's weird, but for some reason, not to get on my soapbox here, but one of the more annoying things about the idea of football in Ontario to me is, a lot of people claim to know things that they just don't know. And they sit there and they think, playing high school ball and playing summer league ball is a lot of football. And my response is what do you think that these, how many games do you think the Texas people are playing? I don't know what the high school schedule is right now. But when I was in high school, the regular season was 6 games.
That's all it is still.
Okay, and it's that's not enough games to play football and polish your craft if you want to play at the next level. and you look at these high-end programs, high school wise, they're playing 12 regular season games plus the playoffs consecutively. So, if you're a good high school team in Texas, it's not uncommon for you to play 16, 17 games. And it's like you sit there and I look at it and you combine the Ravens season, you combine the high school season, and correct me if I'm wrong with that, it's 8 games regular season.
Correct.
So it's like 8 and 6. That's 14 games. That now you're like right in the wheelhouse of what like an actual, U.S. kid is going to play. And it's just, it's an unfortunate narrative, I think, in that sense. And I think that a lot of people too get very lost in the idea of working out and preparing for high school. First off, I'm a big believer in if you're at a young age playing multiple sports and really developing athleticism.
For sure.
But if you're getting older, which I kind of slowed down when I got to 12th grade. But it's like if you're in that 11th, 12th grade and you really like are sure that football is the route you want to go, working out in the summer to prepare for high school to me makes absolutely zero sense. If anything, it'd be the other way around. Because again, if your goal is to get to the next level, like you get better at football by playing football. That's what like people forget. Like, yeah, you can train for football and you can get stronger and you can do all these things in the weight room, and it's a huge part of it. But like, you don't get better at football unless you're playing football, if that makes sense.
And it makes 100% sense. And people say, well, I'm going to weight train. Well, that's great. We've never told our kids not to weight train. We think weight training is incredibly important, but you're not going to become a better football player. Weight train, you're going to get stronger, which is, again, that's a great thing. But I don't think our schedules in the OVFL/OPFL, what it's called now, I don't think it was ever so demanding that kids couldn't do both. I mean, if you're going to weight train and you want to weight train, 2 days a week in a game, 3 days a week is not going to interfere with you training in the off season to be able to get prepared to play football or any sport at any level.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. And, I heard this talk, now I'm getting old, coach, but it's been probably 9 years. I was in college when I heard this one. But a guy said to me, he goes, how much can you squat in your off season? And like whatever, everybody, it was a group of football guys, and we all gave our answer. And he's like, how much can you squat in the middle of week 6 of a college season? And then all of a sudden, let's say the number was you can squat 500 pounds. All right. And then all of a sudden it's like in week 6, everyone be like, I bet I could squat 450. And the guy was like, just like sit back and think about that for a sec. He's like, why are you squatting in the first place? And everyone's like, well, to get better at football. And it's like, so why do you squat 500 pounds in May, but when you're playing the season, you can only squat 450? He's like, then like the point he was making was if you can squat 500 pounds, you should be lifting in season to make sure that the strength that you did gain, you're keeping while you're playing. And obviously I'm not saying guys should be, I want to like put a disclaimer out there. I'm not saying guys should be in here max squatting during the season, but there is, at every level. When I was in college, we're lifting 3 times a week, and in the pros, we have 2 mandatory lifts and 1 voluntary every week, and it's not like bone crushing, get huge lifts, but they are like, let's maintain our strength, kind of our explosiveness.
No, absolutely. And like I said, I think, if you're doing things properly, and I think we did a pretty good job keeping our guys healthy, keeping our guys fit, keeping our guys, just all around great shape so they could get to the next level or play at the next level or even play at the level that we need them to play at all the time. And, but there's always a way and a will to do that. Because I have kids and players tell me and parents tell me, why my son's not going to play because he's going to train in the summer and he doesn't have time to work out. And I said, oh my God, listen, if you don't have time to work out, it's because you don't want to work out, not because you don't have time.
Yeah. Well, what's unfortunate about that, and this is kind of like my first point, is I oftentimes wonder like where they're getting that information from. It's like, who told them that was a good idea?
Well, you and I, Luke, know sometimes, you get the high school guys that don't want, unfortunately don't want their guys getting injured or don't want this happen or that happen. And I believe this. I tell my kids this: if I were to go out and pay for my kids to get a tutor because they struggled in math, and I got a tutor and they became better math people, why are you going to punish them? Because high school coaches basically tell kids, I don't want you playing because if you get hurt, you can't play for me, or I'm not going to do this. And I said, why would you try and punish somebody or try and give someone a hard time for trying to get better at something that they want to do for a living?
Yeah, and that, and again, like it brings me back to like, and this is another personal story, but I remember when I was in 10th grade at Villanova, I wanted to play junior football, and I was like adamant with my father and my situation. All my buddies were in 10th grade. I remember when you
came in grade 9, you were a head taller than every single person. I remember looking down the hall going, Jesus God, look at this kid.
Yes. So it's like, now our coach, who I like love, and obviously we both know Coach Maitre, and he's a good friend of mine, came up to me like the first practice of 10th grade. It was like, you're playing seniors. And I was like, no, I don't want to play seniors. And it's like, I was a punk kid who like didn't really know what's best for me, and I played seniors that year. And looking back on it, it was a tremendous idea, because next year in 11th grade, you're used to that competition. And it just kind of like goes to show, the reason I'm telling the story is like, to me, I kind of look at that the same way as like high school and summer league ball is, if the goal is to play at the next level, I do not know how you don't play in the best league on the best team, which is the summer league football, and it's like, even if somebody's in your ear saying like, you need to train, or like you need, if anything, if you really wanted to train, like it should be flipped around, but my point is, like, you should play OPFL over high school.
Yeah, and you know me, Luke, I would never tell kids that in any
I would.
You know myself. I believe kids need to make their own decisions with their parents and stuff like that. And we encourage kids to play every sport. And I think we try and even be very reasonable with kids playing soccer. Some guys would come late, or baseball, or this and that. We never ever gave them the ultimatum. You either give that up or you play Ravens. Like, we've always tried to be positive and support everything, because I'm a big believer too, is that kids should play multiple sports. I know you played hockey, baseball, soccer, track, football. I mean, you didn't make that decision until about grade 11, grade 12, where you finally started to kind of, get guided in the path that you wanted to go. But before that, I mean, you played every sport going.
Yeah, I look at it now, and this is kind of another ordeal as far as, is like, at the next level, the guys that have the most success, in my opinion, are oftentimes the best athletes.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're 16, 17, 18, like, yeah, you want to get bigger, stronger, faster, sure. But you also have the rest of your life to do that. And again, I'm not trying to devalue working out, because that's all I do, and it's a huge part of it. But at that young age, like, I think developing athleticism through a lot of different sports, kind of learning body control, all that stuff kind of plays into, being eventually what's going to be a better football player.
For sure. Now, if there was anything, I think one of the big concerns that I have right now, and I know as athletes, I mean, if there's anything you could tell young athletes in regards to the situation we're in right now, just what would you tell them about? I mean, my concern is mental health wise. It's got to be very difficult for these young kids. First of all, they don't get to finish the sports they want to play. They're, graduation is probably squashed. Their school trips are probably squashed. Their sports are squashed. Their proms are probably squashed. So there isn't a lot to. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot to, look. I mean, kids look at things a lot differently than grown adults do, right? I mean, this would be a catastrophe probably for most kids. And I'm reaching out to kids every day, trying to keep them positive and telling them, hey, hopefully we get back on the field. But what is it you tell, a young athlete today, in this situation?
I would say the situation, it sucks for everybody. I don't think anybody enjoys what's going on right now. And my thing would be, there are a bunch of limitations, but there are some things that you can potentially, you're not limited to. And I don't know the situation in Ontario, but like I said earlier, here in Los Angeles, all sorts of parks are open. And it's a time where like your motivation level has to go up. And in the sense of, let's say speed or like linear speed is like something that you really are trying to improve. It's like get online and I mean, you got time, man. Put the video games down. Okay, get online and look up drills, tidbits, like certain things. And head to, if you're in LaSalle, I think there's Brunette Park was one right by my house, or Budamere's another one right by there. I'm sure every little neighborhood in Essex County, and I know this is going across the OPFL. So if you're in London, if you're in Toronto, like get out by yourself, obey. I'm not telling dudes to congregate together here and disobey the social distancing stuff, but kind of take your own responsibility. And like one of the things that I've been able to do here is, I don't have access to the same type of weight room that I'm used to. So, let's try and use this to the best of my ability. Some of the things I've always wanted to improve on is movement quality and kind of fluidity of my own movement. So I've, done a lot of videos I've been watching on YouTube, stuff like that, and just trying to do like a lot of kind of functional movement stuff, which I don't need a ton of space for, to try and translate. So when I do head to the weight room, I'll be ready. I'll be even, smoother and ready to go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Like I said, and we try and reach out to our kids the same thing. Listen, you can always do something to get better. You can always work on some type of skill set to hone your craft and stuff like that. But Luke, you know what? I want to thank you for your time. I want to wish you, all the best this season. Another year with the Seattle Seahawks. Hopefully, you're not playing in Green Bay.
No doubt.
That was a lot of fun and pretty crazy times. But no, I want to wish you again, and hopefully you guys have a great season. Hopefully you have a great season as well. And I want to thank you for doing this for the OPFL and for the kids in Ontario.
Appreciate that, Coach. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you.